Julius Caesar, Act 4, Scene 3. One of the most famous scenes in this play and a very important and long scene. The play in which we see the conflict being played out between Brutus and Cassius and the resolution of the conflict. This is also the scene in which the ghost of Caesar makes an appearance, showing that the dead Caesar is more powerful than the alive one earlier. So the scene starts with Cassius complaining that Brutus had punished Lucius Pella, one of the soldiers, for accepting bribes. But Cassius says that in the middle of a battle, we can't afford to punish our soldiers for small crimes. Our aim should be on winning the battle at any cost. But Brutus believes that the means are as important as the goal. He believes that Julius Caesar was assassinated to establish a Roman government based on justice. What's the point of assassinating one when we are going to replace a dictator with another government which is unfair? In fact, Brutus blames Cassius too for accepting bribes while giving out positions in the army. Now this angers Cassius a lot because it's a big accusation on him. He explains to Brutus that he is more experienced in military matters, so he knows whom to give what post. He warns Brutus not to pursue this, not to accuse him, because if he becomes more angry, he might do something to Brutus which would make Cassius regret about it later. So he's basically threatening Brutus. But Brutus is not afraid of him. In fact, he mocks Cassius and he tells him that if you want to scare somebody, go scare your soldiers. I'm not going to bow down whenever you are hot-tempered. Now Brutus has another complaint. He says that when he wanted money to pay fees to his soldiers and he asked for money from Cassius because Cassius had collected money through foul means. But Cassius did not give money to Brutus. He did not come to the rescue of Brutus. He did not help Brutus. This angered Brutus. It's quite strange that Brutus is willing to use the money which Cassius obtained through foul means. But then these were desperate situations which require desperate means. Brutus himself could never perform any foul activity. He could not exploit the farmers. He would rather turn his heart into gold and blood into silver and give it to his soldiers rather than exploiting anybody else. Brutus says that if he had money and Cassius ever needed it, he would never hesitate in giving it to his brother. Cassius defends himself saying that whichever messenger told you that I had declined the request must have miscommunicated. I did not say that I won't give you the money. It was a misunderstanding. Now Cassius will try to emotionally manipulate Brutus and make him feel guilty. He uses sentences like, I know you don't love me. You've broken my heart. Friends always ignore small defects. They never magnify it. You, on the other hand, must be keeping a record of all my faults and using it against me, as you are doing right now. Oh, Antony and Octavius, why don't you come and kill me alone so that I don't have to face all this? Brutus, you said that I didn't give you money? Well, here, take my heart. Then he shows off his chest and tells Brutus to kill him with the same sword which he had used to kill Caesar. At this point, Brutus calms down and he tells Cassius that, okay, fine, it's alright, I will not mock you whenever you are angry. I will just ignore it whenever you lose your temper. I will think that it's just a temporary thing. Understand that even I have a short temper. Sometimes I speak angry words, but I become cool immediately. Just like a flintstone. A flintstone, at that time people believe that it has a spark of fire in it. A flintstone is used to light up a fire, but despite that, the flintstone remains cool. Cassius makes him feel guilty about this. He says, so you do admit that you lost your temper, right? Don't ever do that again. Let's be brothers again. And even Cassius says that even I lost my temper because I have inherited this short temperament from my mother. Brutus says that fine, next time if you ever lose your temper, I will imagine that your mother is being hot-tempered. Now at this time, a poet enters the tent. He was stopped by Titinius and Lucilius outside because they were instructed not to allow anybody to enter inside. But the poet insisted that I would die, but I will not stop here. And he enters forcefully and he scolds both of them for arguing with each other. He tells them that as leaders, you are supposed to be united. He does not know that the patch-up, the reconciliation has already happened. So now Brutus and Cassius mock him and ask him to leave. Then Brutus asks for wine, a bowl of wine, and he reveals to Cassius that he is very sad. To which Cassius says that, but why are you being sad? You are supposed to be a stoic person. You are unaffected by worldly pains and pleasures. Brutus defends himself saying that, I am the most tolerant person of pain, but my wife Portia is dead. Cassius is taken aback. and he now realizes why Brutus had been so angry. In fact, he feels lucky that Brutus did not kill him, because he feels that with the death of his wife and him instigating Brutus, Brutus could have killed him as well. But somehow Brutus had control over himself. Cassius feels fortunate about it. And he inquires, how did she die? Brutus reveals that because of his absence from Rome for such a long time, and because of the rise of Antony's power, and seeing all the proscriptions, the list of people who were being executed by Antony and Octavius, Portia lost her mind, and in the absence of the servants, she gulped burning coal, which ultimately killed her. She could not bear the separation from her husband, and she did not have any hope of seeing him again, so she died. But Brutus does not want to talk about it anymore. He wants to drown his sorrows in alcohol. Cassius also wants alcohol to overflow in his wine, which represents the overflowing emotions, love of Brutus. He wants the patch-up between them to be permanent from here on. At this time, Messala comes in, and he confirms that Antony is planning to bring his army to Philippi for the battle, and soon they will march towards Sardis. Now the question is, should the conspirators meet them for battle at Philippi, or should they wait and watch while they come to Sardis? Now this will be a dispute between the two. Messala also says that through the proscription, 100 senators had been executed. Now here Brutus says that the information he got was a little different. Only 70 senators had been killed, including Cicero. The Cicero who had not been a part of the conspirators, but he was executed. Also, Messala inquires with Brutus if he has heard about his wife Portia. But Brutus says that he hadn't, which is a lie, because earlier he had revealed to Cassius how he was sad because Portia had committed suicide. But perhaps he doesn't want to show his depression to his soldiers. He wants to show a brave face in front of them. So ultimately he encourages Messala to reveal whatever news he has got, and Messala says that Portia is dead. But Brutus, very nonchalantly and stoically, he says that, fine, death is the only constant in life. We have to move on. We have to continue with the mission. This impresses Messala, who feels that great leaders should take losses like this. But Cassius says that he would not have been able to take a loss like Brutus is. When he asks Cassius whether they should meet them at Philippi or they should wait for the enemy to come to Sardis, Cassius, who is a more experienced soldier, states that we should wait. Because by the time the enemy soldiers would come to Sardis, they would be exhausted. They would have used up their supplies. So they would be, and on the other hand, their soldiers would be refreshed and ready to attack. So they would have an upper hand. But Brutus counters with his logic. He says that between Philippi and Sardis, there are many villages. And till now, those villages were helping out Brutus and Cassius under pressure. Not willingly. They were giving them supplies, etc. But when Antony's soldiers will start marching towards Sardis, at that time, these people will switch their loyalty. The army of the enemies would increase in size rather than being depleted. So it is better if we meet them in the Battle of Philippi. And he feels that this is a correct opportunity. He gives the example that often in the oceans we have high tide and low tide. And a ship should sail when there is high tide. If we wait for the low tide, then we cannot sail. Similarly, if they miss out on this opportunity, they would regret it later. Cassius has no choice but to agree once again to Brutus' opinion, which is again a wrong decision, going all the way to Philippi. Because Brutus felt that their army are already at a peak. This is the right time, strike when the iron is hot. If we wait for more days, then the army size will decrease and the morale will also decrease. There was some kind of impatience in him. And then he bids farewell to everybody in the tent, Cassius. So it's an emotional farewell. And then when he's alone, he calls Lucius to get his gown. He wants to just relax, sleep, have a good sleep. He calls in some other soldiers like Varro and Claudius. He tells Lucius to play an instrument, play some soothing tune to put everybody to sleep. But when Lucius starts playing the instrument, he himself falls asleep. Brutus then shows his kind side. He takes away the instrument gently and allows him to sleep without getting disturbed. And at that time, the ghost of Caesar enters the tent. Everybody else is asleep. And the ghost says that I am your evil spirit, Brutus. Brutus is scared. His hair is standing. His piloerection. His blood went cold. But he speaks bravely. He asks, why are you here? The ghost says that we will meet again at Philippi. And Brutus says, okay, fine, then we'll meet then. And the ghost disappears. And then he wakes up the servants. And he asks, Did you see a ghost? Why were you yelling in your sleep? But nobody recalls yelling in their sleep. And by this time, the morning is nearby. He sends the servants to fetch for Cassius and prepare early the troops, because now they have to march for the battle at Philippi. Hi students, this is AJ sir. If you found this video useful, press the like button. Also, if you'd like to enroll for my test series or online lectures, email me or message me on Instagram. Check my description for more information.